What's up, guys? Justin here with Elite Self, ready to go over some of the most exciting and interesting information that I have ever read straight out of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz for part 3 of the 21-day challenge. The 21-day challenge is about applying the principles that are taught in the book in your own lives prior to passing judgment to see what's different after practicing for 21 days or 3 weeks. So we're going to go over chapters 3 and 4. I'm sorry, we're going over chapters 4 and 5. My bad. 4 and 5. Very exciting stuff. Super dense. This is where stuff really starts to get real and exciting to me. So please follow along. Again, if you've not already picked up a copy of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, please do that. It's going to be way more effective for you to learn it for yourself, because there's going to be stuff that could be really influential in your life that I just completely passed over because it wasn't super influential in mine. So anyway, I encourage you guys, pick up a copy for yourselves as well as following along in these videos. This is part 3, so if you've not already finished part 2 and part 1, please go back and watch those first, as those set the foundation for what we're going to be going into today. Now, the content we're going into today is super dense, so we're going to try to get through it as quickly as possible without missing too much of what I feel like is super important to me and hopefully can help you in your life and your experiences as well. So, jumping right into it, we're going to get a little weird and a little bit geeky talking about hypnosis, and I'll be comparing it to the movie Inception in the way that he talks about it. So Maxwell wrote about hypnosis and how, like sometimes you'll hear people say, like, you can't make somebody do something under hypnosis that they wouldn't ordinarily do in real life. And that's true if the person is consciously aware that they have been hypnotized in this state. So it's kind of like in Inception when they talk about, he says, he's like, Inception's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, it's just really hard, because if the idea is sensed as being foreign, then you are aware that it's obviously not yours, and you'll take less ownership of it, and you'll be a little bit more, you'll scrutinize it a little more, right? So if somebody hypnotizes you and tells you, and you're super shy, and they tell you, sing and give a speech right now in front of these 500 people, and you are aware of it the whole time that you've been hypnotized, you're going to think, no, that's not me, I'm not like that, right? But he actually gives examples of people that do just that. They're super shy, they get hypnotized, boom, they're giving speeches in front of crowds of 300 people. They're, afraid of blood, and then, or I don't know, not afraid of blood. I don't have these specific examples, but he gives quite a few examples of people that have a specific aversion to some sort of behavior, and then have no issue going into that type of behavior once they've been hypnotized. So he talks a little bit about that, and really takes that into your everyday lives. So there's probably a lot of stuff that you believe about yourself that isn't actually necessarily true. You've been more or less hypnotized into believing that by the culture around you. You've been comparing yourself to other people and therefore assuming that you're incapable or are capable of the same things that they are. So you're drawing your limitations based on your experience and based on the hypnosis of the culture you surround yourself with. So the first step in getting out of that is to stop comparing yourself to other people, right? You aren't them, and they aren't you. You all have vastly different experiences, vastly different backgrounds, and it's important to recognize your own individuality and your own potential based on that individuality, not the experiences of other people or the thoughts or the limitations of other people. So you've got to stop comparing yourself to others. And he also talks a little bit about the idea that being better at something or being worse at something than someone else has actually no effect on your value as a person. So being better at something doesn't mean that they're better than you as a person. It just means they're better than you at that something, right? We all have things that we can do individually that we have, natural inclinations or natural talents towards. And if we were to base our, stance in a hierarchy based on our talent, you can't really compare that sort of thing because there's so many different areas and so many different applications. So you have to recognize that you aren't better or worse than anybody else. You're only you, right? And that is a huge part of everything else moving forward. If you're still going through life accepting the limitations that you have on yourself because of the limitations that other people have, then that's going to be step one. let's start by helping or figuring out a way to stop comparing yourself to other people. And that also goes into, back to the sort of the hypnosis thing, about the power of belief. And if you're able to believe, so what happens, like, so let's say you go under hypnosis and you're super shy and you get super stage fright and they tell you to give a speech and you give a speech. What changed, right? Well, what changed was when the person hypnotized you and told you to give a speech, you started believing, in this scenario, you start believing you are capable of giving that speech. And that's where the new skill or the new practice comes from, is the power of belief in yourself. You no longer believe that you have stage fright, and therefore you no longer have stage fright. So that mentality can take you way farther than you've ever gone before, but not if you're still comparing yourself to other people and drawing your limitations on inferences based on the limitations of others. You have to discover your own limits for yourself, and moreover, you have to decide what your limits are for yourself. And we'll go more into that a little bit in a minute. So once again, you are neither superior or inferior to anybody else because of anything you do or don't. It is 100% the fact that you are you. You are, and they say all the time, about how everybody's different, but you are unique. The fact that you exist changes everything else, because nobody else can be where you are right now. So accept that you're neither better nor worse than anybody else. You're just you, and you're going to do the best that you can do moving forward. The next thing that he goes into is that relaxing is a key ingredient to reaching your goals. So remember, we talked about in the last video about how it's not about the effort that you put in mentally, right? It's not about working really hard so you can solve the problem. It's about choosing the target and letting the subconscious do the work, right? And that subconscious can't do the work if you don't know how to slow down and relax. And that's why all of the top performers, and well, most of the top performers, I actually can't think of any that don't have some sort of meditation practice, whether this is top performers in business or education or acting or whatever it is. Most successful, you define successful however you want, most successful people have some sort of relaxation or meditation practice that they do on a daily basis. And that is so important, because it makes it so that once you, and if you've ever practiced meditation or done a breathing technique or something like that, by the way, if you're interested in checking out a breathing technique that is super easy to learn, lots of free content for it all over the internet, check out the Wim Hof method, WIMHOF. Go through 3 or 4 rounds of the Wim Hof breathing method, and then you're going to have this feeling, just like if you've practiced meditation or breathing or yoga or something like that before, you have this feeling, you're so calm, you're so serene, and then you take that feeling with you for the next several minutes, right? And the idea is when you practice active relaxation, you're able to more often recall that feeling of relaxation, which is pivotal when it comes to reaching your goals, right? So let's say I've decided I want to get X, Y, and Z done today, and I stay stressing about X, Y, and Z. Well, that stress is actually going to inhibit my ability to get X, Y, and Z done, right? Because stressing means that I'm going to focus on it more, and focusing on it more is not going to help, because that means I'm consciously working on it instead of letting the subconscious take care of the problem. So being able to actively recall that relaxation feeling at any point in time throughout the day is a huge benefit to being able to solve problems more quickly. So relaxing is a huge part of accomplishing your goals. Choose your target, relax, and let your subconscious do its thing. To kind of supplement that idea, remember that the more effort you put toward changing behavior, the less likely it is to change. It's kind of like thinking, I won't eat bread, I won't eat bread, I won't eat bread, I won't eat bread. That's a negative mentality. That's a defensive mentality. And there's actually, based on the research that I've been seeing in this book, there seems to be sort of this you're more open to self-destruction when you get into a defensive state, when you're worried about not doing something rather than doing something good. You're more apt to do sort of self-destructing actions and things like that. Moreover, if you're thinking about bread all the time and you're trying to not eat bread, then you're going to eat bread. Instead of thinking, I won't eat bread, think, I will eat vegetables, or I will eat, greens, or I will eat, whatever. That's the mentality that's going to help you move forward. So the more effort that you put toward making a change, the harder it's going to be to actually change. You want to make sure that you're focusing on the goal and not the process. Personal experience in this chapter, we just about to wrap up chapter 4 notes. The personal experience that I have in this area specifically is when I moved to Huntsville, where I am now, and I started working at the academy where I work now. On my first day, I went from a rank 1 position to a rank 6 position. I took 6 tests back to back, or 5 tests so I could get into 6 back to back without stopping, with the physical conditioning, the obstacle completions, and things like that. So I did all of that, tested from 1 to 6 in 45 minutes. And what's crazy is that it wasn't because I was thinking super hard. It was because I was just letting it happen. I was like, you know what? I want to get to 6. And in between obstacles, I may have been panting and heaving and, like just breathing heavily and sweating profusely. But as soon as I touched the obstacle, everything else shut down, the obstacle was done, and then I would go back to remembering how tired I am. Or I was at the time. So it's not about the effort that you put into the action of getting to the goal. Now, preparation is the thing, right? Or the effort into making sure you're ready, that's different. But once the game starts, once the bell rings, once you start going, it's all bets are off. It's not about the brain. It's about it's not about active effort. It's about letting success happen because you've already prepared for it, if that makes sense. So that wraps up Chapter 4 notes. I was going to do Chapter 4 and 5, but this video is getting a little long, and I know that sitting around for 20 minutes watching me talk is probably not something that anybody wants to do. So we're going to go ahead and end the video right here. I'm going to go ahead and post this video, and I'll be posting Chapter 5 notes either tomorrow, Monday at the latest, between, tomorrow and Monday. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you haven't picked up a copy of Psycho-Cybernetics, please do. Please share these videos, comment, let me know what you think about it. I want to learn from your experiences too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Stay elite.